I don't know how people can listen to what I'm saying and get confused by what I'm saying. So I got to say it again. They are using images of you and the people around you and celebrities and everybody. Okay? They're using those images and they're projecting those images onto other people. This is a technology that they have that is a working technology. The person standing next to you might not look the way you think they look. They're there, they're real, but they don't look like you think they look. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's real, okay? I just want to say one other thing. You guys need to go get this song. It's called "Is She Really Going Out with Him?" And I think it was popular back in the 80s or the 90s. I'm not really sure. Is she really going out with him? And the lyrics are pretty women out walking with gorillas down my street. There's something weird going on. I think the chorus says, is she really going out with him? Is she really going to take him home tonight? Is she really going out with him? Because if my eyes don't deceive me, there's something going wrong around here. And go check it out. That artist that wrote that song, whoever wrote that song, and it may not have been the person that came out with it publicly, because believe me, I know all about that. In Hollywood, they're going to steal your shit. You don't ever, oh, no. They steal your stuff. They steal those songs. So it probably wasn't even the person, it's probably not even the famous person that came out with the song. It was probably somebody else that wrote that song. But the point is, that person knew that there was something weird going on, because there is something weird going on, and it's called holographic projection technology. And you guys, you just need to be aware of it, okay? You just need to be aware that they can use anybody's image and they can project it onto somebody else. They frame people for crimes that way. They do all kinds of crazy shit with that. And you need to be aware also that they're trying to program you to accept this illumination thing. In the Celestine Prophecy, they had me reading that book, and it's talking about, if you see something that kind of glows, that means it's from God and you should follow it. No, that's the holographic projection technology. You guys, Lucifer, that's why they call Lucifer the light bringer. It's light projection technology that they use. That's how they deceive. That's why it says in Revelation 12, the deceiver.
In Matthew 7:15, the clothing of the sheep. Isaiah 3:20 calls it the serpent charming enchantment and the attire of the breathing substance of human bodies. Isaiah 3:22 calls it the changeable suits of apparel, the covering membrane, the cloak. Genesis 3:21 calls it the coats of skin. Genesis 3:24 calls it the enchantment tool that transforms. All of this is the marvelous appearance in Jude 1:16. It's the garment that is spotted by the flesh in Jude 1:23. It's the garment that the beloved hate. So why do the beloved hate the garment? Because it is a deception. We're told in the beginning of the Bible that the image deceives. In Genesis 3, we're told the serpent is the image. The word serpent actually means image. In Genesis 3, verses 3 through 8, we're told the hybrids, the Isha, use this image technology in order to make themselves appear beautiful. We talked about that in the Genesis 3 video. That is why it talks about taking away their beauty in the end. For example, in Lamentations 2, it's not talking about natural beauty. It's talking about a deceiving technology. These evil people that Jude tells us live in Sodom, which is Babylon the Great, where we live now, we're told they have creeped in unawares. In other words, they have entered without anyone knowing it. And how? Because they are wearing a garment that changes the way they look. It's a garment that is made from light, we're told. In other words, electromagnetism. Revelation 13:14 tells us the mark makes the image. And the mark will also be inserted into the right hand or forehead, and some will buy and sell with this mark. We already know they're inserting microchips into their right hands and buying and selling with them. So that means the mark that makes the image is microchips. In other words, they're wearing a high-tech garment that is made with microtechnology. It is a deception to human eyes. That some of the angels of the 7 stars, in other words, some of the angels of the Pleiades, in other words, some of the Pleiadians, are wearing garments of the dead. They are impersonating the dead. We know what the garments are. The garment is the technology that makes them appear human. But some of them don't just look human, and they don't just look identical to specific humans, but they actually go so far as to impersonate specific humans after they are dead. Let's look at one last verse in Jude 1, verse 9. It says that Michael the archangel, when contending with the devil, disputed about the body of Moses. So why would anyone have a dispute about a body? I can think of at least 5 possible reasons for dispute. Number 1, they disagree about who the dead body is. Or number 2, they disagree about what the dead body is. Or number 4, they disagree about when the dead person died. Or number 4, they disagree about where the dead person died. Or number 5, they disagree about how the dead person died. Jude is specifically talking about a disagreement between an archangel and the devil. And the disagreement is about the body of Moses. It doesn't tell us what they disagreed about, only that the archangel rebuked the devil about it. We know the devil is a deceiver and a liar. So if the devil says the body is Moses, then the body probably was not Moses. Or if the devil said the body was not Moses, then the body probably was Moses. But why would this matter so much that Michael rebuked the devil for this? Was it because the devil impersonated Moses after Moses was dead? Did Michael find the dead body of Moses while the Israelites thought he was still alive? Let's look at Exodus 34, verses 28 through 30. It's talking about what happened after Moses came down from the mountain. It says, he was up on the mountain with Yahweh for 40 days and 40 nights, and he came down from the mountain with the 10 commandments. And it says, the skin of his face shone. And when the children of Israel saw the face of Moses, they were afraid. So why would the children of Israel be afraid of a shiny face? Well, because this word, translated as shone, number 7160, also means to grow or display horns. So they weren't afraid because his face was shining. They were afraid because not only was it shiny, it was displaying horns. This is an ancient painting by Michelangelo of Moses with horns on his head. So there was a dispute between the archangel Michael and the devil about Moses's body. And when Moses came down from the mountain, he had horns on his head. It doesn't take a genius to put 2 and 2 together. The real Moses was murdered, and the devil was impersonating him after he was dead. And that becomes evident when you read some of the commandments that he brought down. They are truly evil and sick, some of them. And it especially becomes evident in Numbers 31, verses 15 through 18, when Moses commands the Israelites to kill all the boy babies of the Midianites. Moses himself was saved from being murdered as an infant. In the very first chapter of Exodus, we're told in verses 15 and 16 that the king of Egypt commanded that all the male infants of the Israelites be killed. Then in chapter 2, we're told that one of the male infants was saved and raised by an Egyptian, and he was named Moses. So Moses was saved from an evil king who commanded to murder all the male infants. So you would think that he would be against that, but then he allegedly goes and commands the Israelites to kill all the male infants of the Midianites. And it sounds crazy until you realize that the person who gave this command was not Moses, he was the devil. The Israelites were afraid because Moses had horns when he came down from the mountain. And in Exodus 34:33, it says he put a veil over his face. That was the image. The real Moses may have led the Israelites out of Egypt, but then he was killed and replaced. So the Israelites did not receive the real commandments from Moses. Instead, they received commandments from the devil. That's why the Bible says over and over that the Israelites started following a false god. Also notice that in Numbers 9:6, it says, "And there were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man." On the surface, that scripture seems to refer to the handling of a dead body. But Leviticus 21 verse 11 says something strange. It says, "Neither shall he go in to any dead body." Why would someone go in to a dead body? Well, it all starts to make sense when we find out that the certain men who were defiled by the dead are the certain men who crept in unawares, the angels that kept not their first estate. Remember, Revelation 3 says the angels of Sardis have a name that they live, but they are dead. And it implies in verse 4 that they are defiled by their garments, because it says a few of them are not defiled by their garments. So if only a few of them are not defiled by their garments, that means most of them are defiled by their garments. So let's get this straight. It's telling us that most of the angels of Sardis have a name as if they live, but in reality they are dead, and they are defiled by their garments. And Jude 1:8 says they defile the flesh, and not just any flesh, specifically strange flesh in verse 7. Their garments are the strange flesh. There are certain men who crept in unawares. Jude 1:4. There were certain men who were defiled by the dead body of a man. Numbers 9:6. The angels of Sardis have a name that they live, but in reality they are dead. In other words, they are impersonating a dead person. They are using a dead person's name, and they are wearing the image of that dead person. They are defiled by their garments because their garments are of dead people. Revelation 1:20 tells us these angels are the 7 stars. And Amos 5:8 tells us the 7 stars are the Pleiades. So the angels who impersonate dead people are Pleiadians. Jude 1:7 tells us this is happening in Sodom. Revelation 11:8 says Sodom is the great city, and Revelation 17:18 says the great city is Babylon the Great. In other words, Pleiadians have creeped into our society without anyone knowing. They are using an image technology that makes them appear human, and even to appear as beautiful humans, And some of them are even impersonating humans who are dead.